So, first things first, Malina,
Okay.
how are you?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
So, before we talk about the album, I'd like to jump back to the beginning a little bit.
Okay.
And your father was a musician.
Yes. So I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
So this is how it is. So my mother and my father both are entertainers. My dad plays the bass. Currently he plays with, one of the artists he plays with is Bernard Allison from the Bernard Allison Group. And my mom is a singer as well as a drummer. So we grew up in a musical family. So my parents have, that's how they made a living. They were always playing music. And I think when my brothers and I came along, we just kind of fell in the chain, you know. We saw my mom sing and dance and my dad play, and I was like, man, I want to do that. That looks fun. And yeah, shortly after, that's what happened, you know.
Well, is there maybe one memory that sticks out with being with your parents,
My parents?
on the road? Or?
Oh, yeah, the studio. I remember once, like, it was in Lorain, Ohio, and I remember my mom and dad always going to the studio, and what really was exciting, because I was so young, is seeing the big glass and then seeing my mom with the headphones. And I just remember thinking that it looked super cool. And then I would always see my mom on TV, because when they would have to go play, we would at my grandmother's house. And then even in Minnesota, because we're so small still, I was like, man, this is cool. And then I think like right around 7, my dad gave me a guitar, because again, this is just normal, you know. And I was like, man, I don't like this. And then he gave me the guitar again at 9. And I remember he gave me a right-handed guitar. He's naturally right-handed. And then he had me play it. And I was like, oh, this doesn't work. So when he left the room, I took the guitar and I turned it upside down. And then I was doing it like this. And I said, oh, man, this is perfect. This is perfect. And my dad came back and he's like, Malina, what are you doing? That's backwards. You can't play like this. Stop. No one plays like this. And I said, Daddy, this is good. This works. And then he's like, well, I guess Jimi Hendrix plays that way, but I don't know. And then from that, I just kept going at it this way because it made sense. And I just, you know, wanted to get better, and I became obsessed. And that's just how it started.
I find it very interesting. Do you know why you didn't like it when you were 7?
Oh, you know what? Maybe because he wanted me to play it like a right-handed person, probably. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm not right-handed. So you know what I mean? When something's totally against the grain, and for some reason he left the room when he gave it to me, and I just flipped it upside down. Then I was like, oh, this is cool. I love it. This is really cool. And I think that maybe that was part of it. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like the parent is gone and then you're like playing around with different things. But my mom was always like, you know, George, these kids, they're talented. They, you know, they want to sing and play. And I'm telling you, they got something. She was always that person. And then finally, I think as we got older, like about 12, 13, I said, man, you know, I want to start a band. And when I started the band, it was me and my brothers, and then my parents ended up joining our band. And then we started playing around the country and then around the world as Moye Ice. So everyone always says, you know, did you go to school or this? Never. Never went to school for music. My training was specifically on the job training, meaning like, you know, we're already playing and performing, so you start to learn so many things early on. And yeah, and then you just, I think like anything, you just start to develop more and more and more. And if you want to be successful, you start to, you understand like this, like now we're in the age of streaming. You know, people want more streams and more so than CDs, but I hope you actually pick up my CD. But you know what I mean? So you got to be a part of the time and change with things in order to have growth and to find success.
Right. Before we get into kind of the business side and the music of late, your father was called, I believe, Dr. Funk. So
That's right. My daddy, yes, I love it. You guys should tell your research. Yes, my daddy's called Dr. Funk. And the thing about it, because he always says that, you know, if you need the funk, we'll call the doctor. You gotta love it. Now, my dad is funky. He is. He's really funky. He, you know, huh?
But did you then graduate to that kind of music? What
no. See, the thing is, we were always, again, I always look at like my DNA. We were born in Ohio, so when I even think of just Ohio musicians, period, I think like Zap. I mean, you have Defunct, Ohio band, Slave. You know, George Clinton. All, I mean, just funk, Bootsy Collins. And then when you start to put that, I feel with Minneapolis, more your rock scene, I think the two together is my DNA. So then you start going to funk rock. And you know, back then everybody would always say, and a lot of the things that I've read as well, I'm like, that makes so much sense, because at the time Minnesota is predominantly white. And so a lot of the acts wanted to play in the clubs, and they needed to add rock to the music. So in order to do that, they would have, you know, like you have a basic bass line, and then they would follow the bass line with distorted guitar, and then that in turn is now starting to become more of a funk rock situation. And I think for me, this is like my whole DNA. I love this. So funk, rock, and soul. People always say to me, well, Malina, which category are you? Are you funk? Are you rock? Are you soul? But to me, I always say one question. Did you like it? Because to me, it's the same notes. Everything just is dependent upon how you play them, what emotion you use, what effects you use. It's the same notes. That's what makes music so crazy, right? That these notes have their own language, and it literally forces people to pick out, you know, some way that they can sell it. But I always just go with feel and gut and say, hey, did you like it? Did it move you? That's it. Let's move with that.
So if we move towards the album, then is that how you write then as well? You just start somewhere and see where you end up?
That's right. So for me with this record, different things. Sometimes it could just be like a lick. You hear a lick in your head and you just like playing it. Like for instance, Better Than You. I just kept hearing that guitar lick. I kept hearing the lick over and over and over and over. And then I just would start putting together. It was easy for me just with the do. And I kept thinking, man, it makes me think Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll, and then it made me think Queen, right? And so then I was like, man, let's do like with the hook, have it more open so it's like that swampy, dirty, stanky Mississippi ring of a blues rock, but the funk side of it as well. And then on the verse, you can hear it more like the Def Leppard with the, you know, more of the lead line. So I was specific to, and wanting with the producer to show variation of the guitar, but really simple and kind of subliminally. So when you hear that record, that's something I think that you'll hear the difference and go, okay, I see where you're going with that. But for me, that was one of the ways this song came out. The song Enough, it was ironic. I actually am in a movie, so I'm also an actor, so I got cast in this movie called The Samuel Project, and the director was asking me, hey, you know what, would you also be interested in doing a song that could also fit this particular movie for the end credit? And I was like, cool. So that, coupled with some experiences that I was facing, it made me write Enough, because for me, this is one of my favorite songs on the record. Oh my God, simply because it actually is definitely the root. And this is when my dad would show us some chords. I wanted to kind of play homage to my family too, where those very simple picked chords were very is soulful. And the emotion that we use with the dun, 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 all that, taking it back to the old days, as people, my mom and dad always say, the olden days, where they would always have, the music had the horns, and it seemed like it really took you on a journey. And my goal with that song was to take you on an emotional roller coaster ride, because I also feel like, for me, in my country where we are, I just feel like there's so many things that are taking place that I just don't agree with. Right. And for me as an African American woman, and I classify myself, I say rock with the bases of funk, rock, and soul, as I just gave you the whole thing about picking a side, because, you know, to help sell it, I'm like, it's rock with the bases of funk, rock, and soul. Right. It's not a lot of us out here, you know what I mean? And so what happens is you do your thing, and then suddenly maybe somebody does something that makes you realize, wow, you know what? For the first time, I think I just experienced something I've never experienced in my life. And I think that it has nothing to do with the merit of how I'm actually playing. But perhaps now it's the fact that I'm black. And that's something I was like, wow, because I'd never experienced that. And for me, it was like the higher up I started to climb, I was like, wow, this is interesting. And it was very heartbreaking. So then it made me go, okay, as I'm starting to tear up. And then it made me, like, at that moment, I started writing. When I was young, I thought the world owed me everything. Boy, so much has changed. It seems to me I cannot be what I need to be. The scars are too deep. Oh. And if you listen to that, what I'm saying is like the scars for me of America. And for in general, the scars, period, but something that is so deep where you're constantly telling us, go out, conquer the world, do all these things. Oh, but don't be that good. Oh, I'm going to put you in this magazine. Oh, but I'm not about no cover. Oh, you know what I mean?
Stay in your lane.
Right. Don't you dare try to. And for me, I'm like, I know what, I'm a very spiritual person, and I know what God has promised me. And I know that what I'm here to do. I know what I'm here to do. I enjoy playing music. And my goal, even with this record, is that's what set the tone. When something just struck me, and I thought to myself, man, people will put you on a pedestal. People will take you off a pedestal. One of the most important things for anybody to understand is that you matter and you count, and to celebrate yourself. So that's why with that album cover, I had that outfit on like a warrior. And in my mind, I was like, here's my stake. You cannot erase me. You cannot replace me. You cannot make me feel like I don't matter. And I have a voice, and more importantly, I count, and I'm somebody.
Right.
And that's it.
Because there's a quote kind of that ties into it. I think it was used in the promo, but where you said, don't look for heroes.
Man, be your own superhero. Yeah. Yes, because think of this. Here's the thing. Like I said, people are, you know, Malina, it's not funky enough. Oh, it's too rock. Oh, you know, Malina, I don't know. We're not really looking for more girls. We already got a girl right now. Oh, this person, she's too fat. You're too skinny. This. And so my mind, I'm like, I'm enough. I'm not changing shit. I'm not changing shit. And you know what? I'm telling everybody else, find your tribe. Find the people who are totally into you and what you do, where you don't have to change nothing. Because if they don't see you how you are, that's not your people. Don't even worry about them people. Go for the people who are like, you know what? I get you, Malina. I love you. I'm down. I feel the music. I know what you're about. And for me, this is just for anybody. If you constantly have people telling you to change, those are not your people. Find your tribe. Find your tribe, because those are the people who will help to help you to shine, to elevate you. Man, there's so much negative in the world, and to know that you are enough. You don't, that's it. That's why when you hear those lyrics, that's when I was telling these people, I'm enough. She's enough. He's enough. Enough with all the bullshit that you guys are saying. That's it.